Oh man, so I hope you're all out there having a great day. I am having a wonderful day. But I made the mistake of going on YouTube, and I made the mistake of checking up on some old channels I used to watch. And the fear mongering from these old men, they're worse than the old ladies, unbelievably. But the fear mongering from some of these old men YouTubers is just over the top. Over the top. Social Security's under attack. It's under attack. Oh, it's under attack. Oh, geez, man. And the advice they're giving is just phenomenally. I'm not even going to say the words. I'm not even going to go there. It's just phenomenally it just drives me crazy. But if you're buying into the fear mongering from some old dude who's on YouTube without a degree, without this, without that, I don't know what to tell you. I'm not into fear mongering. I don't believe in fear mongering. I believe in being cautious. I believe in being paranoid. I believe in thinking about things rationally. I believe in assessing potential outcomes, right? But the idea that somebody's going to sit there and, rant 4 or 5 times, Social Security's under attack. It's just silly. It's just silly. And the hard part for me to really, the hard part here is these guys have made it through the filter of life pretty much. They're still mostly vertical. They're still mostly coherent. They're still, if you're talking about Social Security or you're collecting Social Security, congratulations. You've made it through a huge filter in life. And now to be so scared of everything and it's like, really? You're going to go out like that? Oh. So Social Security's not under attack. Trump's not starting these crazy tariff wars. I was digging into that, and it brought up a lot of, I made a video. I said I was going to come back and talk about tariffs, and I didn't. I did go down, it wasn't really a rabbit's hole. It was like an ant's nest. And all the things I found, there were some pretty disturbing things. One of the most disturbing I found was Glenn Beck was doing an interview with Patrick Bet-David on the PBD podcast. I don't have the date with me. That's enough for you to find it. And he was talking about when you have somebody implementing all these changes throughout history, going after corruption and government waste. When you look at historically when this has happened in America, there's been some huge global event that follows. And the other thing that really stood out is all these people talking about tariffs, raising prices and this and this and that. They're missing a lot of things. Yes, tariffs can raise prices. Trade wars can raise prices. In this case, the alternative is worse. The alternative is when Biden went after the money from Russia and he set a new standard of international warfare or international whatever. He started confiscating and seizing funds from Russia and Russian citizens. Specifically, this is where it gets really crazy. He started seizing all the funds he could get his hands on and apply pressure to get his hands on. That is not something we've seen post-World War II in any great scale. And having the dollar being the default currency, or what do you call it, the standard currency, global currency for trades, the petrodollar, the dollar, it put all that in jeopardy and set into motion a chain of events we can't unwind. But having the onshoring of production back to America will help secure the dollar and its future, and in long term secure your funds, because people were talking about the dollar devaluing, about people moving off the dollar within a year or two from now, and dollar de-dollarization. And that's still happening in a lot of countries. A lot of countries are still dropping the dollar because of what Biden did, President Biden did, and his administration. I don't even know if he did it. Pardon me. Had these sausages at breakfast. They were really good, but my stomach's not liking them. Anyway, so all this trade war stuff, Canada, there was just a great interview again on Patrick Bet-David. I forgot the guy's name. He's like one of the front runners in Canada, and he made a great point that Canada is not trading fairly with America because it wants to protect its cheese and eggs or whatever production, right? And so, and he was pointing out how Canada, even inside Canada, they have all these huge trade issues, like from province or whatever they call it. In America, we'd call it state to state. So they've got, regulations or tariffs, internal tariffs. It's just a mess, right? Inside Canada. And he was explaining it's easier to trade with the U.S. than it actually is, inside the own country of Canada from side to side. And part of that's geography, and part of it's just their government so Canadian. But in that interview, he was very clear. And one of the first times I've ever heard, a big, broad, vocal broadcast of reality is that these countries, including Canada, many countries, including Canada, have huge tariffs on American products, and we've just been okay with it. So that deindustrialized America and moved everything offshore. And in the end, that was going to end up in a devaluation of the dollar. The dollar is going to crash internationally, and all these people worried about Trump's tariffs are going to, find themselves in a serious situation. Now, what President Trump is doing is probably the only way to prevent that de-dollarization broad scale across all the international partners. BRICS, you can still bet, is probably going to keep moving forward. And you're going to see a lot of de-dollarization. You're going to see the dollar fluctuate quite a bit. And you need to be ready for that. But all this fear-mongering from these old guys that survived so long is just crazy. And this guy today that I watched, he's put out this video, Social Security's under attack. So if you're on Social Security and you're worried about it, or you're worried about de-dollarization, you're worried about, anything economic, real simple. Start a savings plan immediately. Paul Old Dog New Tricks, if you go back to his old videos about money, he did some really great breakdowns about taking an economic vacation and how to save money over time and blah, 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 and how to stack money in a savings account. He's probably one of the best old timers I've seen break it down. You got to go back and filter his channel for all the videos about finance, 2, 3, 5 years ago, whatever it was. But have a minimum of 3 months of payments. If you're getting Social Security or retirement or whatever, have that in cash somewhere. I'm not talking like in stocks or in this or in Bitcoin. I'm talking just in cash. If you want to be prepared, the typical rule of 3 months of cash is a good rule to go by, and that will help mediate anything. And never let it go below 3 months. If you take some out of it for, you want to buy a new motorcycle, you take some out, put it back, right? It's real simple. 3 months of cash on hand, and you won't have to worry about any Social Security disruptions. And anybody can do that. It just takes a little bit of discipline. And again, if you're collecting Social Security, you've already gone through the filter of life. If you can't save 3 months of, I don't know what to tell you. Like, anybody should be able to do that. It should not be an issue. It should not be an issue. 10% over 10 months is a whole, right? So that's 1 month. So 30 months, you should have 3 months of savings. No problem. If you can't cut 10% out of your budget, that's a whole nother issue that, we can talk about. But I can cut 10% out of my budget without even blinking. Why can't you? And if you can't, then, let's talk about that. Like, that's an issue. Fire me up in the comments and let's talk about that. And I'll show you how I cut my budget way more than 10% just because there were things I wanted to do. And if your financial security is important to you, that 3 months, I think, is a great cushion to think about. And then if you want to have a cushion for medical or, all those other things or trips or whatever, that's fine. But just a sustainment cushion of 3 months, it's great. And the other thing that people aren't talking about with Social Security is they are going through and cutting the fraud, waste, and abuse. There are so many people in government offices that should not be working, and firing the worst of the worst is not a bad idea, right? And when you listen to Elon Musk and how he runs companies, and he's not running Social Security, but he is advising them, Fire 50%, hire 10% back. It's a proven win-win, right? It's proven to work very well. So why not do that in the government? Why not do that? Why not have government employees who are worthy of the money they're making? I'm just saying. I go to the VA a lot. I would say fire 90% of the VA and start over because of the experiences I've had from those VA employees. I was in one office. One lady is telling me how horrible all my friends and family are. And no, I didn't slam her against the wall. I didn't do this. I didn't do that. I just calmly got up and walked out. I had another person telling me I should go buy mushrooms on the street. And again, I'm in an office. I'm in a VA building. He's telling me to go out to some guy on the street and buy mushrooms and pot and go sit in the woods by myself and smoke pot and do mushrooms by myself in the woods. Just recently, I was in California and a lady at the counter picked up the phone and said, "Yeah, I'm just dealing with this asshole in front of me." I was polite. I never raised my voice. I never said anything derogatory to her. I could, but I didn't, because if you speak back to a government employee, they write little shit in your file. So firing half of the Social Security, I'm all for it, right? Hire back the 10% that is worthy of that job title and prestige. They should be proud to work at the Social Security. And you're not going to be proud to work at the Social Security if you're working with a bunch of chuckleheads who, can't figure out 2 + 2 = 4, or what a woman is, right? Or, pick whatever your baseline evaluation is. If you're not smarter than a 5th grader, you shouldn't be working at Social Security. And if you're at the Social Security and working with people who aren't smarter than 3rd graders, you probably don't feel proud to work there, do you? So, the other thing about Social Security that I haven't heard many people talk about, this proof of life letter, they're don't get it and it didn't come. Here's a real simple thing you can do from Social Security is every November, send them a message and get a benefits letter, hard copied, mailed to you, request a benefits letter every November. Just put it on the calendar. October, Halloween comes. Okay, let me apply for my benefits letter. And just get a benefits letter from them. And that makes sure you're current in the system. That keeps you up to date, right? If you're in the VA, do something similar. Go to them and say, "Hey, I need this, something that's on record," right? And get a benefits letter. Do whatever you need, right? If you're in any government situation, any retirement situation, even if it's a retirement from, who knows what, once a year, send them a thing. "Hey, can I get a benefits letter or a status letter or whatever from you, sent to this address?" That way they know where you're at. They know you're active. They know you're vertical. And then if shit happens, right, it makes everything easier because you're like, "Hey, look, I got this last year." It makes the whole process easier. So if you really want to do something to protect yourself, if you're really that scared, if you're really, went through life and survived the great filter of life and you're collecting Social Security and now all of a sudden you're so scared you want to hide in your basement and watch these crazy dumb YouTubers as they gaslight you and fear-monger you, do that. Just go request a benefits letter. Go request anything. And, it'll be fun. It'll be fun to engage with the bureaucracy. It'll be fun to, negotiate that thing. It could be a headache, right? It could be going to the DMV. It could be going to this. I hate calling customer service. I hate calling customer service so much, there's a million things I'd rather do than call customer service. But, I had to call customer service about this issue with an account I have. And it's like, okay. And I'm making an international phone call. I'm not happy about that either, right? So I picked the right time. 20 minutes after they open their phone numbers for customer service, give them a call. Super nice on the phone. And I get this lady. And she spent probably close to a half hour, maybe more. I don't know. But I got off the phone so happy, I can't even begin to tell you. Because not only did she help me with my problem, she's like, okay, I can solve this. And oh, well, they didn't do that. She found other problems I hadn't seen, and she's solving those for me, correcting those issues, right? Not solving, she's correcting, right? And then she's telling me, like, hey, are you using this? Are you doing this? Are you doing this? And then she's telling me other things like, hey, have you looked at going here? Have you looked at going here? Have you looked at this? And giving me all these other ideas. It was like, this person should be doing sales for the company because, she had been there for, over 15 years, I guess. And I was so happy to talk to her. I'm a super loyal customer of that company, that brand already. And it just took that loyalty, my loyalty to that company even higher because I hate making phone calls. And I'd called them twice before in off hours and I get this, call center and it just drove me nuts. So the anxiety going into that phone call was crazy. And I happened to get you couldn't have scripted a movie better than putting that person on the phone with me because, it took my loyalty to that brand to the next level. And now when something small happens with that company, I don't think about all the little small things that happened in the past. I think about her because she was that great, right? And that's the way, every customer service agent wants to be if they care about their job, if they have any pride or loyalty to their employers. And that's the way every great brand wants to be. And this great brand is a great brand because they find and foster employees like that. But the lesson I would want others to take away is going into that, I wanted it to be positive. I did everything I could to make it a positive encounter. So if I'm going to go to the California DMV, I'm not going to go at 5 o'clock on a Friday before a holiday weekend to the busiest DMV and expect it to be a good encounter. I'm going to go in there keep my head down, do what I got to do, wait in line, be patient, right? If I want the DMV to be a positive encounter, I'm going to manipulate the situation to create the best opportunity to have a positive encounter. So if you have to go deal with the IRS, Social Security, any of these other agencies, set it up so that the likelihood of you having a great encounter is super high. I got one more quick one and then I'll leave. I was working overseas. I came back to America. I hadn't filed taxes in a few years. I was behind and I'm just trying to sort it out, trying to get it all together. And I called the IRS and I said, hey, I'm having this issue. I'm trying to find this, I can't get this record. I can't do this. I know I need to pay these fines and blah, blah, blah. I'm just trying to figure it all out so I can get it resolved. And I get referred over to this other department, right? They're like, hey, call here tomorrow after 10. So I call over there tomorrow after 10. And again, same thing. I couldn't imagine a movie being scripted this well. I get on the phone and this lady from the IRS is like, hey, okay, I see this. No, you don't need to get a hard copy of that. I've got this. She gets another guy on for, a few minutes to talk about some issues. And then he goes away and she's like, okay, all I need you to do is go down. She's like, do you have access to a fax? I said, well, I think I can get to town because I was living way out in the woods at the time. I said, I think I can get to town next week and send a fax. She's like, look, if you can get this fax to me tomorrow, we can resolve all this. And I ended up getting money back. I ended up getting a lot of money back. And she's like, look, I just need your signature on this, this, and this. And if you can, you really make the effort to get into town, download this form, sign it, and send it. I didn't have, and so all these years I'd been delinquent and, whatever, it was all done that quick. I wasn't really delinquent. I was just behind, right? But it was just so funny to me because you get the right person at the right time and life is easy. And there are things you can do, even if you don't get the right person at the right time, there are things you can do in that conversation, in that setup, in your life to maybe make that person more of the right person than they were. And that's what I suggest. But if you're listening to these fear mongers and you're all anxious and apprehensive and angry and scared, you're not going to have a good encounter. You're not going to it just makes things harder. When you listen to the guy saying, Social Security's under attack, it's under attack. like 6 times. And he says it real, subtle and with a lot of authority. Social Security's under attack. Social Security's under attack, right? He says it like he has some insight and he knows what the hell is going on. I don't know what the hell's going on, but I don't think it's under attack. And if you go forward with the mindset that it's under attack, it's not going to make anything in your life easier. If you want to make your life easier, be a little paranoid, be a little skeptic, be a little pragmatic, and be happy about it. Like, hey, we're fixing Social Security. Okay, well, I better put some savings, because guess what? When you fix things, sometimes, like if you're fixing a house, have you ever remodeled a house? If you're listening to some dude about Social Security, you have to have been in a house that's been remodeled at least once. Guess what? You may not have water for a day or two. You may not have electricity for a day or two. Big deal. Big fucking deal. But if you're smart and you're pragmatic and a little paranoid, you're going to go, hey, we're remodeling the house. Let me think about this, get a couple jugs of water in the fridge, freeze a couple in the freezer so the freezer will last a few days without power. And so what? So what? Yeah, it's no problem. You broke the water main. Big deal, right? Not a problem, because I'm a little prepared. Being prepared is having those 3 or more months of cash on hand in a savings account over there, just ready, because Social Security and all the government is going through a little bit of upgrade. And upgrading is good because it's going to make it last longer. It may end up even giving you more money in your pocket here and now, instead of being wasted on all these Social Security people who probably shouldn't be working. And I'm not talking about that 10 or 20% who are phenomenal employees and proud to work for the government and should be proud. And let's make them more proud by getting rid of the dead weight they're having to pull. Because one guy at Social Security is doing the work of like 15 slackers. Well, let's get rid of 10 of those slackers and he only has to do the work of 5, right? That's what I'm saying. That's my rant. I don't feel better, but I will in a little bit. Why? Because it's a beautiful day. And I'm going to go get some steps and enjoy life. And I hope you do the same. Take care.